America's Mayor Live with America's Mayor,
Thank
Rudy
you.
Giuliani, on a very, very exciting Thursday evening. A lot to cover tonight. And of course, you can go to rudygiulianics.com. That's rudygiulianics.com. And Mayor, what does the CS stand for?
Common sense.
And you can catch all the Mayor's podcasts.
Oh, my goodness. And do we need common sense? The exercise of the human brain by independent Americans who are not overwhelmed by either ideology. Well, whether they are or not, can still think through it to a logical conclusion. That's been the greatness of our republic. The greatness of our republic is that we've allowed people to speak. We've allowed people to speak horrible things, and we refute them, debate them. We don't cut off speech. We've been doing that for 2 years now. And we did it in a way that's horrific during the campaign when we cut off the Biden hard drive. That's probably one of the worst and most unpatriotic acts in the history of this country. We'll talk about that more later, but we've got to get beyond that now. We've got to talk about the things that are really dividing America and what's going to bring us together so we can save the last great hope of humanity, which it is. So, Ted, what do we got? What do we have tonight?
So, of course, first off, comment below. Let us know your name and where you're calling from, and we'll be sure to get some shout outs there. But tonight, Mayor, of course, the Biden administration was able to retrieve Brittany Griner from Russian custody in exchange for a person with the nickname the Merchant of Death. So that is something we are all
well, it's a little hard. It's a little hard to accept all that. There's no question that we wanted Brittany Griner free of the tyranny of a communist country. And Russia, I guess, isn't a communist country anymore. And actually it isn't, because Putin kind of hates communism because he saw it as destroying Russian nationalism. You want to get really technical and you really want to get philosophical about it. It's really a Nazi country, a right-wing fascist dictatorship under Vladimir Putin. But whatever it is, right-wing fascist dictatorship, left-wing communist, it's a dictatorship. Putin determines the lives and the future of the Russian people, which is a disgrace, because those are great people that could make tremendous contributions. And they were on their way to doing it before this evil man came along. But so we have to be careful as we evaluate what he's saying and what he's trying to get us to do. It's mostly going to be against the interests of freedom and democracy and in favor of totalitarianism and a one ruler state, which is what he's comfortable with. So don't fool yourselves. Don't listen to John Kerry or these silly, stupid people. I don't believe they're doing it intentionally. I can't imagine they're doing it intentionally to destroy this country. But somehow their intellect has been overcome by either their emotions or in the case of Kerry, the desire to make billions. Or Biden, who has made billions. They've sold themselves out. So they can't even listen to that.
So thanks for joining us. The fastest hour on the internet, America's Mayor Live with America's Mayor, Rudy Giuliani. Lots of great topics for tonight. Of course, the Georgia runoff recently concluding. The Democrats have a 51-49 advantage in the Senate. Republicans have a slight majority in the House. With the past three election cycles, Mayor, some people are asking the following. Is it appropriate for the RNC chair to run for
Time for a
fourth
change. I don't know if you have to
term?
wait for that, Ted. It's time that we massively change the leadership of the Republican Party. All during the time I worked 24 hours a day for the purpose of trying to vindicate the election of 2020, I was undercut by an endless number of people from the Republican National Committee. Now, whether you like Trump or you don't, they were a material part of destroying any chance that Trump had of making a valid case that the election was stolen from him. It's okay for the Democrats to do that, but why the Republicans did that? And honestly, forget the New York Times, forget all the bullshit artists. The reality is there was a very good case that that election was stolen. It exists today, and my prediction is it will succeed historically. In other words, 20 years from now, you will know that the 2020 election was stolen, and that those of us who were persecuted for it were persecuted unfairly. But I'm not sure of that. I'm not sure. I'm telling you the best estimate of my analysis of the direction we're going in. And it may be colored by some unrealistic optimism, which I've always had about the greatness of this country and the heart of this country. But on the other hand, my idealism and my patriotism and have been tested almost every day since the first day I represented Donald Trump, and they stole my hard drive. I'm sorry, they stole my iCloud account. Even though I was Donald Trump's lawyer, which should put me in a category where you leave it alone. Plus, I had an active law practice for at least 8 or 10 other people. I serve the federal government. There's never, ever, ever, ever a circumstance in which I would have done something like that, no matter who I was pursuing. I know the standards change. I know the Sixth Amendment right to counsel has been eliminated in the case of Republicans you disagree with if you're a Biden White House. I know that the standards for invading someone's home have been completely trashed by Biden because he invaded my home and found nothing. Nothing. Even though I offered him the two things that would have been incriminating, the Hunter Biden hard drives. I offered him the ones with the child pornography or the ones without the child pornography. And I say that for a very, very special reason. Why are you ignoring the child pornography? Why? That's disgusting. It's perverted. I don't care if you're Hunter Biden or you're the king of Siam. What kind of country lets you do that? Because your father protects you. You know who the victims of that were? According to psychiatrists, Joe Biden's granddaughters. Not terribly different than what the bum is doing with regard to his granddaughter that he won't acknowledge. Can you imagine the damage done to this young woman when 20 years from now, she looks at pictures of this demented idiot of a president and says, that was my grandfather, and he wouldn't acknowledge me? I don't know, maybe she'll appreciate it, that this idiot didn't acknowledge her. And maybe I'm too old-fashioned, I don't know. Maybe I'm too Italian-American or too Catholic or whatever. But how can you have the slightest bit of respect for this man? Beyond that, he's been one of the biggest crooks in the history of this country. He's taken more money than anybody I can calculate from our enemies. And we ignore it. You know, that's even more troublesome than the first part. Okay, he's taking $31 million from China, our biggest enemy. Okay. People sell themselves out. Biden's not the first one. So he did it pretty completely. But why do we ignore it? Doesn't it have a bearing on how he gives back the Bagram Air Base 400 miles from China? Doesn't it have a bearing on how he doesn't challenge China on how they spread CCP virus all over the world and therefore try to contain them from doing it again? Doesn't it have a bearing on his ever challenging China on anything? And doesn't that really end up with the conclusion that the man has been bought, paid for, and is owned by Xi Jinping?
So thanks for joining us. To let us know where you're tuning in from, and we'll do some shout outs and ask some questions. We love answering questions. What questions do you have for America's Mayor on this Thursday evening? So as we look here,
I kept thinking it was Friday, Fred. I thought it was Friday.
we are in fact
I guess it was all the days in my, like, I don't know what you would call a deposition hearing where the Bar Association of DC, which is hardly a balanced bar, is seeking to destroy my right to practice law because I represented Donald Trump. And they claim I made some mistakes in the complaint that I filed with about a day and a half notice, even though I asked the judge for a brief continuance so I could do a bit. Oh, forget it. Who cares? They'll do what they do, and we'll see if they have the courage to stand up.
Here's a good question.
What was it in Man for All Seasons? To the winds, the unbelievable hurricane of suppression that happens, or political correctness. Gosh almighty, if you're not politically correct, you get thrown out of your law firm. I don't know how much courage these people have. I don't know. We'll find out.
So the name James Baker, of course, there's a number of James Bakers
forget
out there.
James Baker
So,
in the Trump.
Well, we have a question.
In the Bush administration. There's a different James Baker.
Yeah.
He's got his own problems.
Oh,
Sometime you want me to explain James Baker's real problems,
the George Bush James
particularly with regard to Israel. I will explain it.
Well, let's go into that late. Maybe
we'll do that some other time. We'll do that some other time.
Somebody asked if
when,
you ever worked.
When the Jewish people turned against Bush 41, it really was because he had James Baker there as his Secretary of State. And there are times in which, look, I am spiritually and politically completely in line with Israel and the Jewish people. And I sometimes am very critical about the fact that they don't support Republicans like Trump, like Bush 43, the way they should. But they're right about Jim Baker. Leave it at that. They're right.
So
and that has been a major barrier in bringing him over to us.
Well, what about the Jim Baker?
It's a very esoteric, very difficult thing to understand. You have to really understand the Jewish vote, the Jewish people. You have to empathize with them. You have to be part of them. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I feel like I am. I can explain that to you. But the major reason why we don't have the percentage of the Jewish vote that we should have is Jim Baker's ridiculous, absurd, stupid embrace of Arafat, who I investigated for murder. The man killed 27 American people. You don't get a reprieve from that. From me.
Explain that, Yasser Arafat.
You do get a reprieve from that from a bunch of ass-licking Americans.
What?
But you don't, Republican or Democrat, who set up this country for attack. But you don't get a reprieve from that from me. I investigated him. He killed 27 Americans.
How?
He threw them off ships. He killed them on airplanes. He ordered their killing in foreign countries.
This is
the most
Yasser Arafat.
famous of which was he ordered the killing of Leon Klinghoffer, who was an American Jewish man, I believe from New York, from Queens, New York, who was in a wheelchair. They took him out of his wheelchair and they threw him into the Mediterranean because he was Jewish at the order of Yasser Arafat, who Bill Clinton, Jim Baker sucked his you-know-what. I didn't suck his you-know-what. I threw him out. When he showed up at the United Nations, I said, throw him out. I don't sit and watch Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, which has the greatest piece of music about peace ever composed by any composer.
Who's
the
that?
Ode to Peace, Beethoven.
The Ode to Peace?
It's the final section of the Beethoven Ninth Symphony. I had organized this for the UN 50 celebration. I had raised the money to invite the people. I did not invite tyrants, murderers, and dictators. Castro, I didn't invite. I'll give you 10 others.
Okay.
They didn't show up. That little creep showed up. He's a little creep, too. He's about... Well, never mind.
Mayor, people are pointing out you're fired up tonight.
I looked
You're
at him
very
up there
fired up.
when I saw him there, I said, I'll go up there myself, pick him up, and I'll throw the son of a bitch out. I knew, because I investigated him as U.S. attorney, he killed 27 Americans. You killed 27 Americans, I don't forgive you. I'm not Bill Clinton, a stupid left-wing crook. Sorry, I'm not Obama, who the hell knows what the hell he is, or Biden, who has no idea what he is. This guy was a major murderer of Americans. I don't forgive you for murdering my citizens. So I threw him out.
Thanks for joining us.
The Clinton administration said, I would destroy peace in the Middle East. Bull. You know who destroyed peace in the Middle East? That idiot Clinton. By giving Arafat everything he wanted. And when Arafat got everything he wanted,
Clinton
he said,
gave him everything he wanted?
he gave him everything he wanted. Every piece of land he wanted, every deal he wanted. You know what Arafat told him? Stick it up your backside, Clinton. You know why? Because there's no way Arafat could have made money if we made peace in the Middle East. What Clinton refused to acknowledge, maybe you knew it, maybe you didn't. What the silly, stupid, unrealistic Democrats refused to acknowledge is that Arafat doesn't care about peace in the Middle East. He doesn't care about the Palestinians. He's stolen all their money. Every dollar we gave him, he took. His wife is sitting in France now, a multi-billionaire. How'd she become a multi-billionaire? That money comes from the money to help the Palestinian people. Arafat's issue was, let me continue to be able to play off America against Russia, against China, against Europe, and get the maximum amount of money that I can get. Sounds like Al Sharpton? Sounds like Jesse Jackson? You're damn right it does. Except he's playing on a world stage. You can't figure that out? Find another job other than being president. Don't screw up my country, please. So when I got the chance, you're thrown out, Arafat. You don't have a ticket. I specifically organized this for people other than murdering dictators, which includes you. I'm not comfortable listening to one of the greatest pieces of music in Western civilization with a murderer. I know you murdered 27 people. I got the proof. The government of my country doesn't have the guts to prosecute you for it, but I got the proof. So get the hell out of here. He challenged me.
He challenged you?
Yeah. He said, I'm not going to do it. I sent my police there. He did it in 2 seconds. Got on his stupid camel and he got away. No, he didn't get on his camel. Here's the lesson you should take. Stand up to these people. Don't be a cowardly Biden or a ridiculous Obama. Red line, bombing. How about you be like my boss, Ronald Reagan? Well, they were so scared he would bomb
What did you
them.
do for Reagan? To remind folks, we have
I
new
was
viewers,
his
a lot of viewers.
associate attorney general. I did many things for him. I established the Attorney General's Task Force on Violent Crime. I helped to establish the FISA court starting in the Ford administration, continued it through the Reagan administration. I argued 2 cases against Nazis that he asked me to, well, one of them he asked me to personally argue because it was so controversial and so difficult. I argued the case in which they tried to stop him from deploying cruise missiles to Europe, which I think played a crucial role in ending the Cold War. I don't know. I can tell you many things. All I can tell you is it's very, very discouraging to see how so many, particularly Democrats, but also some Republicans, sell out the best interests of this country for power, for position. I'd rather be minority leader than have somebody else become majority leader if the Republicans win. Don't tell me McConnell didn't do that. We'll have a lot more to say about McConnell because we're going to unload on him. This is not what should be representing the party of the people. Ted, what else we got?
Thanks for joining us, America's Mayor Live with America's Mayor, Rudy Giuliani. You can go to rudygiulianics.com. That's rudygiulianics.com to hear all about these podcasts that the mayor's been doing for a number of years now, including stuff he was doing years ago that you're now seeing on the TV as breaking news. A number of these things, Mayor, right? We've seen in the last few days.
And we got more. You have no idea how much more we have to come. The only reason I can predict the future is I have sitting 2 rooms away, Hunter Biden's, what you want to call it, his laptop, his hard drive. The hard drive is merely all of the data that was taken off the computer. And I have 2 versions of it, both of which I offered to the FBI, both of which they declined almost in a panic. So I have 2 versions. I probably have more now, but at that time I had 2 versions. One version was the hard drive with everything, the whole Hunter Biden, decrepit, disgusting, criminal-proving, child pornography piece of crap that he carried around with it. That was one. Second one I had was I did a abbreviated version of it because after I turned that off to the police in Delaware, which they did nothing with because they're kind of owned by the Bidens, as the police, the regular police in Delaware told me this family has been a disaster for them for 30 years. So there it is sitting there with the FBI and with the police. It contains almost impossible to ignore proof of money laundering, child pornography, purchase of a gun while addicted to drugs, which is a 10-year felony, which all those phony Democrats make a big deal out of, right? Except for Hunter Biden, who did it openly, notoriously. We all know it. I don't know. My next podcast, I'll take out the document. I'll show you his signature when he purchased a .38 revolver and walked around with crack pipes. That's a 10-year felony for you or me, not for the prince. The prince of our communist state. Because he gets away with everything. And so does his father. And please let me, I can't possibly in the short period of time we have demonstrate to you every part of this. But I know this hard drive probably as well as anyone.
That's right.
The main criminal is not Hunter Biden. If you interpreted this as Hunter Biden is the head of this crime family, it would be like saying Sammy the Bull was the head of Gotti's crime family. Sammy the Bull was a functionary. The head of this crime family is Joe Biden. Hunter describes it to you in a text they avoid. Even the Post avoids it. I don't know why. They avoid two. I'll tell you what they are. One they avoid is, I gave 50% to Pop of my salary. There's no reason for him to get 50% of his salary as well as paying expenses for the home unless that money really was for his father's office. And when you think about it in the big picture, how did the Bidens become worth $100 million? What do they have? They didn't sing. They didn't make up. They didn't write songs. They didn't write books. They didn't write poems. How did they make their money? They sold his office over and over and over again to the point that it was a joke. To the point at which the people in Ukraine knew that Joe Biden was a guy you could corrupt and therefore brought him in to fix the Burisma case for them. Very much the same way. The Russians brought him in to fix things for them, and big time, the Chinese decided, I got a crook like Biden, give $1.5 million to the drug addict kid, another $3 billion to him. I got the guy. I got him like this. Now, I've got his laptop for a good portion of 2012 to 2018, 2019. I don't pretend to have all of it. The transactions I can't follow here because they go over into another laptop. He's got other ones. One he lost to a one he lost to a Chinese prostitute. Another he lost to a psychiatrist, and the third one is just gone. So I have no illusions that the Chinese, the Russians, the Ukrainians don't have the whole damn thing. I mean, they got my whole thing by not telling me and going up to the iCloud because I represented Donald Trump, which is unheard of under the Sixth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. But you've got to realize there's no administration in the history of this country like Biden who has destroyed constitutional rights for the people that he politically disagrees with. I have none. I have no constitutional rights. They can come into my house with a search warrant that proves to be useless. They had a year to investigate the damn thing. Couldn't find a single crime. What the hell does they invade me for the first place? But beyond that, why do they invade my law office? I've got other clients. No sensitivity to that. And no liberal press that reacts to that. What happened to your conscience? Forget me. What about my clients? And my clients could be liberals like you. I don't know. Maybe you'd have a little sympathy for them, having their Sixth Amendment rights violated by the United States government. But you don't. What's happened to you? I grew up where, even though I rejected liberalism when I was about 24, much kind of on the, you see that, I don't know, Ted, if they can see that picture over there. It's one of my favorite possessions. It's a drawing of Winston Churchill done by his granddaughter. That's a pencil drawing of Winston. No, it's right there. You're not watching it. It's right there.
Oh,
That's Winston. That's his granddaughter who painted that. And nobody understood the danger of communism more than Winston Churchill. Roosevelt didn't because, oh gosh, you're going to get angry at me, but please do, because we'll follow this up with later, more scholarly presentations, which I'm capable of. Roosevelt was surrounded by communists, particularly when he was incompetent. Roosevelt ran for president in 44. I'm not sure he even knew who the hell he was. Kind of like the guy we got there now. And they elected him and they selected Truman. And you all say, thank God we got Truman. There's a certain way in which we should say we thank God we got Truman. There is. There's a certain way in which we should say, oh my God, we got Truman. Didn't know what the hell he was doing. He gave away Eastern Europe. Never had to happen. I don't think North and South Korea had to happen, but.
So we have the camera right now zoomed in on the picture of Winston Churchill. If you wanted to, say something
that was done by his daughter and given to me because from the time I was a young history student, I'm going to say 12, 13 years old, this man has been like a hero to me because he stood out and warned about tyranny when everybody else wanted to ignore it, which is the natural human response. We've had it. It takes a hero like that to speak out against tyranny because people, until it starts to really affect them, will ignore it because they can't see it. It takes a visionary, it takes a brave man and a good man to do that. That was a brave man, a good man, and a highly intelligent one. False? Absolutely. My goodness, you couldn't be as brilliant as he is and not have faults. But why we destroy people for their faults when they've made unbelievable contributions independent of their faults is impossible to me. And then we do it on a race basis or a political basis, or you ever want to engage in this debate with me? You bring me your biggest heroes. I'll bring you the biggest heroes of the U.S., and then we'll have a debate about who are more morally deprived, more morally horrible and terrible, on personal morals. We'll have that debate. I'm able to rise above that. I'm not sure you do that when you try to take Jefferson from me or Columbus. If you want to do that, you take away the Democrat Party, biggest supporter of slavery in history of America.
The party of slavery.
Get rid of the damn name. The name is offensive.
The party of slavery.
If you believe all this crap that you talk about, then you get rid of the name Democrat Party because there is nothing more offensive. Not Jefferson, not Madison, not Roosevelt, not any of the people whose statues you did. Nobody more offensive than Democrat Party. It was the party of slavery that brought us to war and killed more Americans than any war in history because of their obstinance. So come on, get rid of the damn name. Change the name of the party. Don't give us the name of a party that spent its 100 of its earliest years defending slavery, and then the next 50 or 80 defending racism, right up until Joe Biden's best friends, who he eulogized, who were heads of the Ku Klux Klan. So, you can sell this crap to somebody else, not to me.
Thanks for joining us, America's Mayor Live. And Mayor, what do we expect? What do you expect out of a Senate that is now 51-49?
Not a lot.
And
I got a couple of senators I admire. I got a lot of senators where I'm not sure if they belong to our party or their party, or whether they're conservatives or I don't know what the hell they are, moderate, something or other, or I am very. It's probably better the Senate is Democrat because it really is. Had it been Republican with McConnell running it probably would have been Democrat. So I haven't seen any contribution for the Senate since. I'm sure there was one sometime in the last 10 years, but I'm trying to figure out the contribution. Look, they helped to nominate great judges to the court, but who appointed it? Not McConnell. Trump. McConnell got them through. Thank you. But no thank you for how you kissed the backsides of every Democrat, including Chuck Schumer. Mitch.
What does that, so what can we take away? And is each race kind of its own case study? Or can you say something about the fact that the Republican Party was unable to win in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I mean,
all these swing states, all these close races for the most part in the Senate, the Republican Party failed and lost.
well, we got to stand for something. And
Nevada, Arizona.
If we lose standing for something, great. Because then the next time we'll come back and we'll win standing for it. That's what Ronald Reagan taught us. But we have traitors in our party. We got people who are more concerned about, they'd rather have a titled minority leader than lose all of their power completely. So they'll sell out. And they agree with half or three-quarters of the agenda of the left-wing, nationalist, socialist Democrat Party. So I think the big battle that we're going to watch, and this will really determine whether the Republicans win in 24. And they win with a mandate to fix this country. I think it's really going to turn on, do we follow the model of the Republican Senate, which might as well be completely Democrat, with exceptions like Ron Johnson and Grassley and Rubio and certainly Cruz. And I've left a few out. Or are we going to follow the model of the House, which I hope and pray? I'm here. I'm giving my confidence to McCarthy that this is going to be a real Republican agenda. And if he does that, we're going to win in 24. And we're going to win for the right reasons, because we're going to have articulated what our vision of America is. What's our vision of America? Our vision of America is a small government rather than a big government. Has few definitive regulations that stop your ability to express yourself. Whether you're a crazy friggin' communist or a crazy friggin' not MAGA person, you got a right to speak, and I got a right to refute it. And that's how we develop an intelligent democracy, not by censorship, which you've been doing. So cut it out. Let us all speak. Left, right, and in between. Don't try to regulate disinformation because you're too damn prejudiced to do it. You don't regulate disinformation. You decide what you don't think is helpful for you, for us to know, and you label it disinformation. That's why we have a First Amendment, because the government shouldn't be deciding what we hear, what we don't hear. We should hear and see things based on open, non-political, non-ideological principles that have nothing to do with the press. Because the press should be the secondary group that gets it. Because they're too damn prejudiced. And they're too damn pushed on one side, and we'll never get an honest view. Ted, it looks like you got another one here.
Well, thanks for joining us, America's Mayor Live, the fastest hour on the internet. This hour is flying by, Mayor. It's going by way too fast. Please comment below your name and where you're tuning in from. We want to read some of those off. One we didn't hear last night that we see today is Wyoming. Chris says hello.
Wyoming, that's far away from New York.
Wyoming. So Wyoming, we have checking in Chicago. Hello from Chicago. So we're getting people tuning in from all across the country. Sandra in California, Phoenix. Jody is in Phoenix. Another California. Oklahoma. Jenny is in Oklahoma.
Hi, Jenny.
Maverick in Ohio. Ontario, Canada, checking in. John in Ohio. Scooter is in Rhode Island.
We got any
Roy is in
observations?
Massachusetts.
Any questions, observations, criticisms, anything that will help us further the debate?
Oh, if you have, let's see, questions, ask them away. We've got a lot of shout outs.
Tell us what's wrong with what we're saying or what's right about.
Give us some feedback. We appreciate all feedback. Somebody had asked about the Senate and what your thoughts were for the future. People are asking us about the Brittany Griner situation. Oh, what kind of goes into those sorts of negotiations in general?
Well, I was involved in representing someone in a prisoner exchange like that. It actually didn't work. But I don't know. This is very complicated. We got an American back. And okay, so a lot of you can be angry at her because, what did she bow? She kneeled during the American.
I don't even know that she did. I think she made some comments that weren't exactly the most patriotic comments.
So she got people upset because she wasn't uniformly patriotic, whatever it was.
Yeah.
That shouldn't bear at all on the fact that she's an American citizen. We should do everything to get her back. And I'm very, very happy that we got her back. Now, we look at Biden. I have no doubt that Biden did it incompetently. Why? Because he's completely incompetent. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. I mean, could he have negotiated that for a more equal exchange and gotten that Marine out? I mean, he gave up a guy that's a murderer for a woman that's a framed minor drug user and tennis star. Right? Tennis star, isn't she?
Basketball.
What?
Brittany Griner?
Yeah.
Basketball.
Oh, basketball. Whatever the hell she is. I have no idea. I don't know who she was before she got caught there.
Player. So instead of star, maybe we should just say player.
Yeah, okay.
Basketball player.
So we gave up a massive killer to get her back. And you could criticize that if you want. I don't know if I wouldn't have done the same thing to get an American back, even one I didn't agree with, even one I didn't like.
They got the Merchant of Death.
I don't agree with her.
A basketball player.
I don't agree with her. I don't like her because she basically pissed on my country. I don't like people who do that.
But isn't that the most American
of ideals? On the other hand, I would do everything I could to save her.
Then that's what makes you a patriotic American.
Can you get that subtlety, that distinction?
That's the point.
How important it is. What she did offends the hell out of me. Not respecting our national anthem, our flag, or who the hell are you not to do that? But she gets caught up in Russia and some kind of phony drug charge. We do everything we can to get her out. And if it's true, we had no other choice but to give up this mass murderer in exchange for this little teeny framed drug person. I'm not sure I criticize Biden for doing that. I just don't trust it because he's such a moron. I can't imagine he hasn't screwed this up.
He doesn't get the benefit of the doubt.
Well, I can't imagine that I couldn't have done better in the negotiation. I know Trump would have done better. Now,
she would have been back so fast.
Yeah, the press won't acknowledge this because they're so mean and they're so biased. There's no way that Trump wouldn't have gotten at least 2 for 1. He'd have gotten the Marine and her.
Well, that's an interesting question.
For the terrorist
and
kill.
Maybe you can't get into specifics. Maybe you weren't necessarily involved with this mayor. You weren't. Well, because some people might ask.
But I've been involved in other prisoner exchanges.
Okay.
I've been involved with Trump,
ongoing.
and I know how good he is at negotiating.
Oh, he must be
tough he is.
The art of the deal.
And we got a guy in the White House who's a functional moron. Whether it was before he lost his brain or now, the guy doesn't know whether he's in Colombia or in Cambodia. You can't negotiate a complex deal like this. The guy, look, let's face it. I know the illness. If he's got 2 minutes of concentration right now, it's a lot. You don't want to see the pictures of him home alone. You don't want to see. You don't want to see the food being put in his mouth and they're helping him to bed. And you go this way, not that way, Joe. But we see that when he leaves the podium. He goes this way. He goes that way. This isn't a joke. This is the guy who could destroy the world. What's wrong with this? Please, can we grow up? Can we get beyond the way we've been sensitized and brainwashed? This guy is a terrible president. And by the way, he's an evil human being. Before you react to that, think about the fact that he disowns his grandchild. That grandchild is going to grow up watching Christmases with granddaddy as president, and she was disowned. I don't know. That would haunt me.
Well,
wouldn't it haunt you? Yeah, I think it would haunt you because you're a good person. You know what that says? He's not a good person. I'll give you another one. Why in God's name would he give his son the job of being his bag man when the kid had an addictive personality? He basically sentenced that kid to a lifetime of being a degenerate drug addict by making him do business with some of the worst criminals in the world. Zlochevsky, who stole $24 billion from Ukraine and probably killed his partner. That was his first one that got a fortune. The mayor of Moscow's wife, who double-crossed her husband so she could be close to Putin. So Hunter became her. She became Hunter's patriot. China. The money they took from China is a disgrace. It's a bigger disgrace because there's nobody that stands up to protect us. I'm still processing that. I'll have an answer to you in a couple of days about that.
Salvatore Lascola says if Trump was president, Trump would have gotten Brittany back, Paul back, and 3 consecutive first-round draft picks.
You can't compare the ability of Trump to negotiate with the ability of the senile, always intellectually inferior human being. Because I'm going to tell you, I've known him for 30 years. He's one of the dumbest people I've ever met before he became senile. And he's screwing our country left, right, every way you can. And they're letting him go. What the hell is wrong with his cabinet? Don't they have a single patriot in that cabinet? They have no one in the Biden family that cares a damn about this country. Because when you see a man that's as incompetent as he is, you move him to the 25th Amendment to get him examined. But there's not a single Democrat that has the guts to do that. Not too many Republicans that do either, by the way.
Thanks for joining us. America's Mayor Live, winding down here on a very busy, fast-paced Thursday evening. Of course, news today that Brittany Griner is home.
Thank God. I don't like all the comparisons and criticisms with regard to her because it's hard to get an American life saved. I will say, thank God you got us saved. However, if you don't get our Marine back, screw you, pal. It's just another one you're left behind, idiot. Look, step aside, moron. Give it to me. I'll get him back in 2 months. But you've got to give me the power to follow through on what I threaten. And you won't, because you're a useless human being. Joe Biden. You know something? I know you, Biden, better than anybody, because I have that entire damn computer. You are a miserable, totally useless human being. And we've got you in the White House. And get the hell out of here, before you kill too many more Americans. Get out of there. I don't care, Democrat, Republican. If you care about America, get him out. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know if he's in Cambodia or Colombia. What's wrong with us? We don't have the courage to stand up and say, you are incompetent. You're incompetent, moron. I don't care if they elected you president. Maybe they did it fairly. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they did it honestly. Maybe they cheated. Hard to believe they really elected you out of that basement when you got 12 people at a rally and Trump got 50,000. Okay, that's my prejudice. Whether you got elected or not, you're the president now. By the same token, you're completely, mentally useless.
Thanks for joining us, America's Mayor Live, with America's Mayor, Rudy Giuliani. As we wind down here, Mayor, what is your closing message? Of course, we have a lot of news this week. The Senate, we will not control that. It won't even be a 50-50 split. So kind of give folks something to think about here tonight.
My good friends, Republicans, please vote early. Stop resisting it. Why do we have to go into an election on election day 800,000 votes behind? We make up 700,000 and we lose. Look, this is the way these creeps are going to do it for a while. Do I think that mail-in balloting is done for the purpose of the fact that the Democrat Party wants to cheat? 100%. But nobody that knows their conniving, their crookedness, and the despicable nature of the President Democrat Party, the leadership of it, since Clinton. Clinton has pretty much put it in the Satan category. And then Obama, trained by Alinsky, who the hell knows what he wanted to do to this country. He certainly wanted to make us socialist, if not communist. And Biden probably doesn't know what the hell he's doing. But he's surrounded by a group of communists who have us almost like a communist country now, unable to stand up to China, unable to stand up to this Russia. I can say the Soviet Union, but it really is Russia. That's a mistake. They don't want to be the Soviet Union again. They want to be the Russian Empire. Be careful. Watch that. That's the real goal here. And a president that I'm not sure if he wakes up in the morning, if he still thinks the kids in the pool are touching his legs or something.
Corn pop.
Corn pop. I have no doubt that Corn Pop beat the hell out of him. He lies about everything else, and he makes himself a big heroic figure in things that never happen, right? Like he gave out a medal climbing up a tree. Totally untrue. Why would you say? What? You got to be a pathological liar to tell a story like that. He did. Or all my family were coal miners. Nobody was. One accountant. I graduated first in my class. He was like third to last. He cheated to get through law school. He cheated, plagiarized to get through law school. Like he plagiarized as a senator, like he's plagiarizing. He doesn't even know who the hell he is. So, but we have got to create a political party that can create an alternative to that, that's attractive to people. At the same time, and I know this is very hard, we can't do it based on manipulation of them like the Democrats have done, because then we're no better than they are. We got to do it on honest principles and solid viewpoints and great candidates, and that's hard to do. Please understand that's hard to do. But I'm going to do everything I can to devote every waking hour I have between now and 2024 to make sure we do that.
That's one question we did get, Mayor. We still have a couple of minutes. Maybe talk about what do you want to do in 23? What are you thinking ahead of 24?
I don't know, Ted. Whatever I want to do, you can make fun of it or dismiss it or whatever. Whatever I want to do is whatever is the best interest of this country, because I think we're in a crisis right now. I think that we make the wrong decision in 24. Maybe we can't recover as a democracy. We're not a democracy right now. You would be foolish to think we're a democracy. We're a country in which you've got to say one thing, and if you don't, 80% of the press, 80% of the population is organized to condemn you.
And how long is, and this is relatively recent phenomenon for us
10,
here.
10
That's
years.
a scary proposition, Mayor.
Yeah.
That's a very dark and scary proposition.
And what we found out with the revelations from Elon Musk is a lot of this, and there'll be a lot more, by the way. This is orchestrated by the government. This is not some kind of private thing being done by Twitter and Facebook, and this is a government interfering. They use the disinformation category. So think of how perverse that is. So a couple of years ago, it was disinformation. If I stood up on television and I said that Biden, that Joe Biden, Hunter got all this information and developed it was fraudulent. It was disinformation because I should have said it came from Russia.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't. None of it came from Russia. All of it came from John Mac Isaacs in Dover, Delaware. None of it. Not only that, it always because I'm a trial lawyer, I'd like to get them on a cross-examination. I'd love to say, all of you people said it has the earmarks of Russian disinformation. Give me an earmark. One. Give me one earmark. They weren't even required to supply a single earmark, and the left-wing press just rolled over for the 51 people who probably are the people responsible for the deathly, horrific mistakes we made in foreign policy in the last 30 years. Right? We got a great record in foreign policy. I'm talking about Republicans and Democrats. These are the people. These are the cowards and the traitors who did it. Accusing people of being Russian agents without any idea other than, let me get some partisan credits with the creepy Biden. They all know Biden's a total moron, by the way. But let me get a couple of credits with this creepy Biden by saying that they're Russian disinformation. There's nothing in that suggests Russian disinformation. And they knew that. And they were completely lying because they sold their soul a long time ago to pervert this country. And I like some of these people up until then. I can't now. And they won't apologize.
Of course, you can catch the mayor from 3 to 4 p.m. weekdays on WABCRadio.com. He's on the air from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern every weekday. That's on WABC Radio. And then every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern, you can catch him right here where you're watching him now, every weeknight at 8 p.m.
And we'll be back tomorrow.
And we'll be back on tomorrow night, of course. And you can go to RudyGiulianiCS.com. That's RudyGiulianiCS.com to catch all of his podcasts. He's been doing these for years. And, of course, some of the early ones are some of the first reporting, the original first reporting on Hunter Biden.
The next couple of weeks, we're going to kind of isolate some of the older ones to show you how far back this information goes and how accurate it is about the massive, unbelievable corruption of the family in the White House. I hope it's true that this is the most crooked family we've had in the White House. Hard to believe we've had a larger conglomeration of crooks than this one. I hope. And I hope with every fiber of my being, we never have this again. This is a terrible thing to do to this country. Please, God, help us through this. And until we see you tomorrow, you know what we're going to say. We're going to get up tomorrow morning. We're going to say a little prayer. Please do this for me. Say a little prayer and say, thank God I'm in America. It's the greatest country on earth. I'm so blessed to be here. I'll do everything I can to help it. And please, God, you help it too. Okay. Thank you. God bless America.